Well, this is Crafty Sue, and I've been doing some sketching. And so I thought I would cover with you really quickly just some of the things that you can do and the tools that you should have. You want a good sketch pencil set that has soft leads and hard leads. The way you can tell soft from the hard is one will say either soft under the letter B, and the hard leads will have an H for hard lead. The harder leads is what you use in sketching to make crisp lines, to define things, detail, that sort of thing. If you're like me, you like everything kind of in an order to where I can just open this up and get the sketching materials that I need out of it. It's even big enough in the bottom to hold a nice sketch pad, which is a 9x12 one in here, plus some other ones. And I also have some pastel pencils as well, in case I want to do something in color. But sketching is the groundwork for art, really is. I know people that have never really sketched, they just kind of like dove into paint and did it that way, but can you imagine how much more detail and depth some of that artwork could be if you actually practice the sketching part to get ready to add color? I love monochrome. I love black and white. And the reason why I like black and white, monochrome, and sketching is there's so much more detail that you can be seen. An example, I started doing sketching very young, and this is what I sketched. But I didn't sketch this then. I sketched birds. I started with birds and butterflies. So you just find a picture book, find the Audubon bird book, and just pick out a bird you like and start practicing with it. These little hummingbird guys frequent our deck, so I just had to draw one. And there was a picture that was I photographed or something, and I just sketched it. So that's one thing you can do. You can do a still life. Still life is just like a bowl of fruit on the table. You don't even have to have a bowl of fruit, do you? Because you know what fruit looks like. Well, do a sketch of it and see if you can kind of play with where the light comes from. It's important, directional light. But back to the tools of sketching. I have this bin for a really good reason. If you've ever heard of the word plein air, that's when you're outside, you're actually in the air, outside, and you're doing your sketching or your painting or your art piece while you're looking at it outside. It's a lot of fun to do. I have actually gone to different parks and places just looking for unusual looking trees or monuments, things you can add to a picture, and just sketch them. It's kind of like a sketch idea book. So I've got a little bit of everything in here. But your basics are your drawing pencils being soft lead. What's that? Lead's graphite. Soft or hard. Now, a number 2B is a soft 2. It's almost like a number 2 pencil, but it's a little softer. And the softer pencils allow you to do your shading, to do your depth, your perspective. Get your perspective out there. You can't have enough different kinds of erasers. These are different art erasers. There's a moldable one. I only use the moldable one, the kneaded eraser, when I want to do like rocks or bricks, because I'll shape it like a brick or a rock. I'll just do like clay and mold it into a certain rocky kind of shape, and I'll just use that and pull off some of the shading and outline it with a hard pencil or maybe do color. But that's how I make my rocks. And then there's this little guy. This is for the tortillons, these little paper blending things. When they get dirty on the end, you take this little sandpaper pad and you get that off of there. And it cleans them, helps sharpen them a little bit, so you can keep using them until there's nothing left. I also would suggest a blending pencil. I actually found them, didn't know they existed. I always use the tortillons. And they're wonderful. A blending pencil does the same thing, but in more precise, because you sharpen it to a sharp point, and then you can literally do little blended lines, like the creases in the skin, if you're doing portraits, or you just want to give wrinkles to something, so, like that. So I have a bunch of different size Turtolons in here. A really good sharpener is very, very important. One that's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna make the lead break in it. Now you're gonna get, sometimes you'll get sketch pencils, the graphite or lead that's in them has got cracks in it when it was made, and so you go to sharpen it and it just falls out because in shipping they get, I guess, internally damaged. But don't get frustrated. I just get a bunch of them because I get about a dozen, and then I keep little things in here that I think about I might want to sketch. It's actually an old photograph of my grandfather, and I don't know who the other man is, but I've recently discovered the white highlight pencils and the black and white. Those are wonderful for doing, if you're doing black and white portraits, for doing detail around the eyes, highlighting the eyes where the light hits and makes the eye sparkle, that sort of thing. And these I love. Besides the regular artist erasers, there are eraser pencils. Can you believe this? And this is great when those are too big sometimes to get into a spot where you really got to clean it up. Get these. These are, they're wonderful. A box of 6. So I have all of those, and we're gonna go into sketching with mine. After this, I'm just gonna show you some of the ones I've done to kind of like wet your whistle on what we're gonna be doing in my next videos. This is a photograph of my dad in color. I took the color out and made it in black and white. Now, why did I do that? Because I wanted to sketch my dad, and I've never done it. And I'm really rusty on my portraits, but I think I did pretty good. Don't you think? I think it looks like him. I'll miss him. I don't see him very often. He lives far away. And then I found this photograph that my son sent me when his grandfather passed away. That's a really emotional picture, right? Well, his grandmother has since passed on from this photograph. So for Christmas, he's getting, it's not done yet, he's getting this sketch. And I filled in Grandmom's information on the headstone. So Grandmom's is all filled out now with pop-up, as they call them. And the Bible in the back is a statue that's in that cemetery. I added it to the picture. I mean, you can be creative like that. But you see how emotional a black and white picture can be? I think so. I think he's going to cry like I do every time I think about giving it to him. And then, there's color. This started out as a sketch, and I watercolored it. And then I kind of didn't like what it looked like, so I kind of enhanced it a little bit. So this is in stages. Watercolor, you want to do in stages anyway. But when I talked about, the bowl of fruit, just sketch a bowl of fruit. I sketched a bowl of fruit. I didn't have a bowl of fruit laying around. And I have grapes, an apple, an orange, pear, and a banana. Something real simple. And the reason why I suggest still life, especially a bowl of fruit, is imagine where the light is hitting the fruit. And where that light hits, it's going to be a lighter shade. And don't let your brain fool you, trick you. You'll understand what I do. I'm going to do a wine glass still life. And I've got 2 pieces of artwork here. It's the last thing I'll show you before I let you get to the next video. This first painting I did when I was, let me move this stuff out of the way, when I was 18 years old. I was in high school. And I did this painting because where I grew up, we had a lot of covered bridges. And I love covered bridges. They were really cool. Kind of creepy, but cool. They're dark, you go through them. And this is what I did in 1975. I've never liked the leaves on this thing, but I didn't know how to get I didn't have a technique for my leaves. I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I guess so over the course of the last 40 years, I guess, or the last, I don't know, I've gone to this and I've added highlights on those leaves because they were just dark colored. And I said, well, that's not it. So I got my perspective down. I thought I got that pretty well. It was a tip. And I added some little flowery kind of things because I thought it looked naked. We always had wildflowers growing up. So this was the original. Even has the reflection or the shadow onto the roadway. And there's no roads that look that color, so I don't know where I came up with the color scheme. But that's what I ended up with. I've got my trees in the background. I was like, okay, cool. So I decided to see how I perceive things differently from 1975 to 2022. And this is what I came up with. This one right here. This one is my 2022 version of the 1975. Now, the main difference I knew was that tree in the front, that big honking tree there, it's boring. It doesn't even really look that good. So I gave this one a little bit more character. I gave him a knot there, and he's kind of chunky, and I got the leaves. I got leaves that I like. Now, the one thing is, this one was more about the sky in the background. This one's more about the trees in the foreground and the bridge and the trees on the side. I chunkied up, I made them more like a more, almost kind of creepy kind of tree. But we had creepy trees growing up there. And you would go through a dark wooded area and come out, and here you would have this covered bridge that would take you over to where the lighter pastures and things were. So you can't see where the covered bridge comes out except for through these leaves. You can see the back piece. It's darker because my foreground's darker. Here it's really bright. I didn't have any color concept back there, I don't think. But I also remember that some covered bridges have windows on one side. Why only one side? I don't know. So I put them in this one. And, little wildflowers. And I've got my shadow on the road. The roads do look that color, by the way. And the water, I remembered about light, directional light. I've learned about directional light over the years. And the sun coming through this angle is going to lighten up this water here, but not here. Because this is in towards the woods. We're coming through the woods to go to the bridge. And you always have it darker under the bridge because there's no light really hitting there. It'll hit just to the edge and that's it. I'm really happy with the new one because it's more about the trees and the bridge. It's not about the sky. And that's why I think I hated the leaves in that one. But I'm going to leave it alone. I mean, that was my very first big painting I ever did. I was 18. 1975. And this, I can make clouds that I'm happy of. And I love how the clouds in the sky came out in this one. Because it's just kind of an accent. So, if you like this video, give me a comment and let me know. And we'll do more.